legitimate leadership of the House of Representatives, the Justice Minister Oswald Twell reveals that government's decision is backed by recent Supreme Court's ruling. Ministry of Information turned center's recent statement criticizing its efforts in the fight against corruption as bias. Information Minister Jerry Lemek Kear re-emphasized its government's unwavering commitment to fighting corruption. Fred says the office of the Speaker of the House majority bloc set ablaze barely 3 hours after government declared his bloc as legal. And away from Liberia, Zambia's top court has banned former President Edgar Lungu from standing for re-election in 2016 2026. The Bulletin of News, Voices of News, all package. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we join Mariama Jalloh with the Bulletin of News.
Good evening, Princess Kamara, and good evening, Liberia. Government of Liberia has given full support to the majority bloc amid growing tension at Capitol Hill demanding the removal of embattled Speaker Funati Kofar. Speaking during Mika regular press briefing Tuesday, Justice Minister Oswald Tue said the majority bloc has the constitutional authority to conduct business on behalf of the House of Representatives. According to Minister Twe, the setting of the majority bloc is legal based on the ruling from the Supreme Court Justice. Minister Twe explained that based on his reading of the court's decision, the majority bloc holds the constitutional authority to conduct business with the executive and other institutions. At the same time, Bond County District 5 Representative James Collet has lauded government on for decision to recognize the majority bloc as legal. Representative Collet pointed out that such pronouncement is in the best interest of the country, describing it as a dawning of new day for Liberia. Meanwhile, the Liberian Senate has officially resolved to uphold the Ministry of Justice interpretation of the Supreme Court's ruling. Senate pro tempore Yomli Kanga Lawrence made the announcement following a consultative meeting among senators. According to pro tempore Lawrence, the resolution was reached after careful deliberation of the minister's interpretation of the Supreme Court. The Ministry of Justice had affirmed that the majority bloc in the Senate is acting in full accordance with the Constitution, stating that the executive would continue to conduct business with the majority. The Senate resolution comes as part of ongoing efforts to clarify the legal standing of the majority bloc, which has faced challenges from some members regarding its legitimacy. The move is expected to provide further stability and direction in the Senate's legislative process. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Justice, has termed as biased the recent statement made by the executive director of Central describing government efforts in fight against corruption as not enough. Addressing the Ministry of Information regular press briefing, Minister Jeremy Kear asserted that Anderson Mine's recent press statement accusing President Walker of shedding corrupt officials is untrue. He added that the center should be applauding the government of Liberia for their stance taken to ensure the reduction of corruption at the ministries and agencies rather than issuing statements that are far from the reality. The information minister also reaffirmed that the government of Liberia's commitment to fight against corruption in all sectors, noting that it is an unending struggle. He further urged civil society organizations to remain independent in political activities. Margibi County Senator Nathaniel McGill has clarified that despite pronouncement by Justice Minister declaring the majority bloc illegal, he stands with embattled Speaker Fanati Kofa. Speaking to reporters at his Capitol building office Tuesday, Senator McGill lauded lawmakers who continue to stand by embattled Speaker Funati Kofa to ensure the laws of the country are protected. He described the Justice Minister's interpretation of the Supreme Court's ruling as far from true, noting that the minister's decision to recognize the majority bloc as legal violates the constitution of the country. Senator McGill also criticized Monday's standoff at the Capitol where lawmakers were engaged in violence, noting that such is a mispresentation of the legislature. Meanwhile, Senator McGill has disclosed that through the Senate, leadership has decided to work with the majority bloc, but he remains opposed to such decision. Justice in Chamber Yemi Bese has declined to issue a rate of certiorari paid for by the state prosecutors in a case involving former Finance Minister Samuel Twe and others. Recently, the Justice Minister placed a temporary stay order on the process until the determination of a conference scheduled for Tuesday, December 10, 2024. According to sources, the state might pray for a change of venue, adding that it is unclear whether or not state will take an appeal to the full bench of the Supreme Court. However, the justice is expected to mandate the lower court judge to proceed with the matter. Former Finance Minister Samuel Twe and four others were charged and indicated with the commission of the crimes of economic sabotage, fraud, and criminal conspiracy related to unauthorized fraud disbursement while in office. Grand Bassai Lecturer District 3 lawmaker Matthew Joe has accused the executive branch of government of overstepping its constitutional role, claiming it is now acting as the interpreter of laws rather than simply enforcing them. In a statement issued Tuesday, Representative Joe expressed his frustration with the current state of governance, noting that it crossed the line of its constitutional duties. Representative Joe's accusations reflect growing concerns among some lawmakers and political observers about the balance of power between the branches of government. The role of interpreting laws traditionally falls within the purview of the judiciary, not the executive. The Grand Bassa lawmaker remarks have sparked debate over the potential implications of the executive increasing influence in matters typically reserved for the judiciary and legislature. As the situation unfolds, all eyes are on the government response and whether this issue will lead to further legal and political confrontations. The accusation from Representative Joe highlights the ongoing tension within the Liberia political landscape as the balance of powers continues to be a point of connection. Sino County in Sino County Senator Augustine Chie has expressed disappointment in decision taken by the leadership of the Liberian Senate to recognize the House Majority Bloc as illegal. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday at his Capitol building office, Senator Chie termed the decision by the Senate as an embarrassment for the country, noting that it is a disrespect to the rule of law and sad day for the country. Senator Chief further stated that as elders of the Liberian Senate, he thought the leadership would have gone with the decision of mediation and negotiation to resolve the current issue. Senator Chia, who served as chair on the Senate's legal committee, said his view should have been considered than the interpretation of the executives. Liberia Gender Minister Bim Huse Kule is calling for partial steps made at highlighting gender-based violence in the country. Speaking at the One UN Orange Festival, Minister Horace Colley said Liberia needs to transition from the many dialogues and gatherings to take proactive actions to address issues affecting women and girls. She narrated that much has not been done in addressing issues of rape as gender based violence cases continue to skyrocket. Madam Horace Colley added that if necessary steps are not taken, the situation might lead the country to an unwanted future. In the wake of these challenges, there exist countless of opportunities to address gender-based violence as partners have always made available resources to support the country's gender space. Following decisions by government to work with the majority bloc, several legislative staffers has lauded government for such pronouncement. It can be recalled that on Tuesday, at the Ministry of Information regular press briefing, Justice Minister Oswald said the majority bloc has the constitutional authority to conduct business on behalf of the House of Representatives. Minutes after the pronouncement by the Justice Minister, several legislative staffers were seen celebrating, saying such sta- legislative staffers were seen celebrating, saying such pronouncement by government is in the best interest of all staffers at the capital. These staffers further described the embattled speaker's leadership as desperate, which was involved with witch hunting workers at the legislature. According to them, the pronouncement about Justice Minister has brought relief to them, adding that peace has been restored at the capital. The National Transit Authority (NTA) has officially announced the reopening of several critical transport routes aimed at improving connectivity and enhancing trade across the country. The newly reinstated routes include the ELW junction to Bikana with a fare of 300 Liberian dollar, Douala to Sinjay with the same fare of 300 Liberian dollar. The NTA highlighted that reopening of these routes is expected to significantly ease travel for commuters while facilitating commerce and trade between the regions. These routes are key for both passengers, transportations, and movement of goods, particularly enhancing the flow of business activities between the capital and the rural areas. Officials from the National Transit Authority emphasized that the decision to reopen these routes was made in response to growing demand and the need for greater accurate access to vital services. They also reassured the public that the NTA remains committed to improving Liberia's transportation network to better serve the needs of the citizens. The NTA's latest move comes as part of a broader effort to strengthen the country's infrastructure and encourage regional economic growth. The NTA latest move comes as part of a broader effort to strengthen the country's infrastructure and encourage regional economic growth. Comments commuters and business owners in the affected areas are expected to benefit from more reliable and affordable transportation options, boosting economic in the city. Well, that's the bulletin of news, Princess Kamara.
Many thanks to Mariama Jalloh. She returns shortly with the foreign developments. The Bulletin of News is a regular feature on Kear Newsline. One of the big stories we follow in this evening, government of Liberia recognizes the House majority bloc as legitimate leadership of the House of Representatives. Justice Minister Oswald reveals that government's decision is backed by recent Supreme Court's ruling. Let's now bring you voices of the actual news makers. Our first development. Government of Liberia has given the full support to the majority bloc amid growing tension at the Capitol Hill, demanding the removal of Embato Speaker Funati Kofi. Speaking during MIGAT's regular press briefing Tuesday, Justice Minister Oswald Wells says the majority bloc has the constitutional authority to conduct business on behalf of the House of Representatives. Justice Minister Tweed explained that based on his reading of the court's decision, the majority bloc holds the constitutional authority to conduct business with the executive and other institutions.
We have a situation that is unfolding at the national legislation within the House of that matter has been decided by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court issued an opinion, and in my capacity of as Minister of Justice, I have been requested by the President to give an opinion or give reference to that opinion of the Supreme Court, especially if you are the submission of the 2025 budget to the national legislature for the legislative passage and approval. And basically, the President is requesting how the government should proceed. In like the Supreme Court opinion stated, everybody has been giving different opinions. The opinion has issued my opinion. The opinion will be posted on the website of the Executive Mansion. You may go there, peruse it, and basically the opinion is long, so I won't read it to you. But basically, the conclusion of the opinion is that we are concluded that the majority members of the House of Representatives they meet the constitutional requirement stated by the court, the whole section, and take decisions consistent with the laws of the country and the rules of the House of Representatives. That the budget process can legally be carried out by the majority of members, provided they meet the same standard laid out by the Supreme Court opinion. This is the conclusion. We post on the website, you can read it, analyze it, we try to obey the laws of the court. We look at things legally, analyze it, and give our opinion. My capacity of justice. That being said, I'll be very brief. The main thing to say today is the opinion we're giving and to plead with you, the citizen, and everybody. That will be the law. We should be sacrificed. We all have strength power, and none of us like it. It's detrimental to the country. It's detrimental to our quest to attack the death of the common health. It carry all our objective as a nation, detrimental to our well-being.
At the same time, Bone County District Number 5 Representative James Collette has lauded government on for such decision to recognize the majority as legal. Representative Collette pointed out that such pronouncement aids the best interest of the country, describing it as a joint as dawning of a new day for all Liberians.
What we stood for, what we told the Liberian people, they have come to reality. We told the Liberian people that the court ruling was never in favor of the minority, and the Minister of Justice or the Minister of Justice has the constitutional responsibility to interpret the ruling of the Honorable Supreme Court. And you listen to the interpretation that the majority were not illegally sitting. The majority legally sat in their chamber, and what all they did was legal. So that is to tell me that Speaker Rachel Nandekun, the accounting professor, it is a legitimate speaker of the 55th National Legislature. The five months alone can tell you what was happening to them. You see the joy in them. They say they are free. At long last, they are free. They are not going to work in a working environment with fear. Let me say this to you. We are not going to have a rural administration chair that will put people on the payroll every month. What kind of working environment? Every month you bring new workforce on the payroll. As you speak, I just received a call from the Assistant Minister of Budget. Our compensation is shorting by 1.4. Our compensation is shorting by 1.4 million. So if we don't do the necessary thing to ensure that 1.4 is placed in the budget, our staff might not take pay. So these aspects we are fighting again. You say that anything that bring people on the payroll and use the compensation in. Right now the compensation is shorting by 1.4 million. Where do we get additional 1.4 million for our staff? It It is a win for democracy. It is a win for respecting the majority. It is a win when you are entrusted with a piece of task to perform according to the expectation. It is a win when you are entrusted to conduct yourself in a foreign manner that the colleagues will remember you. It is a win for you to use the opportunity to set up a legacy. It is a win to ensure that Liberia is bigger than ever.
A Bone County District 5 Representative James Collett there speaking. Earlier on, you listened to the Justice Minister, 12. Still up Capitol Hill, Margibi County Senator Nathaniel McGill has clarified that despite a pronouncement by Justice Minister declaring the majority bloc legal, he stands with the embattled Speaker Fonati Kofi. Speaking to reporters at his Capitol building office on Tuesday, Senator McGill lauded lawmakers who continue to stand by embattled Speaker to ensure the laws of the country are protected. He described the Justice Minister interpretation of the Supreme Court's ruling as far from truth, noting that the ministry decision to recognize the majority bloc as legal violates the constitution of the country.
This opportunity, we want to let the public know that we are not in agreement with the decision of the higher law. And you know, the Senate is majority decision. The majority decision, when we disagree, we will have to live. We want to put on the record so that people don't believe that people don't say that all agree, all did not agree. And I want to take some of the people who did not agree. The majority people say that we are the only person who will be a decision. So we elected by people that blow. So like people now that decide whether they elect or they violate the law. They have to decide. They have to make a decision. Brother, I don't want to on the law, but I don't want to make a press on see the record. So I can be on the record. I want to be on the record. People are like, you know, they know why you do law. They don't know why you have. So you make a decision in the history of Liberia. Nowhere in the history of Liberia. I even believe come on the Capitol ground and move in the Capitol building and attack one because I know how people. I don't say I still be corrected, but I've never seen it before. I've never seen it before. You can remember when people went to the Capitol ground, Susan went to the Capitol ground.
He's Margibi County Senator Nathaniel McGill there speaking. The government of Liberia, through the ministry, has termed as biased the recent statement made by the executive director of Center describing government's efforts in the fight against corruption not enough. Addressing the Ministry of Information regular press briefing, Minister Jerry Lemek Kear claimed that Anasi Mohamed's recent press statement accusing President Joseph Boakai of cheating corruption that's corrupt officials is untrue. He added that Sentat should be applauded. The should applaud the government of Liberia for their stance taken to ensure the reduction of corruption at ministries and agencies rather than issuing statements that are far from the reality.
The local civil society organization has questioned President administration the government's commitment to fighting corruption. Centar indicated a few days ago that the president was tampering officials, including those they said were being gross violation of the code of conduct for public officials, particularly the aspect that has to do with asset declaration. In my mind, these kinds of corruption narrows the scope of what the fight against corruption represents. Because if you tie the fight against corruption to just asset declaration, something that has also seen due progress, therefore concludes that the president or the government is tempering corrupt officials and those not serious about corruption is an unfested. The very Central should be aware that just 6 years ago when the new government came to power in Soviet, they didn't have the head of the government declaring the asset. President Waka wanted to show leadership and demonstrating the political will to fight corruption, both declared that there are instances where the evidences are clear. There's one thing for people to get through accusation in the act only because an accusation is thrown. There's another thing to see accusation coming and detailed investigation suggest that there's wrongdoing in those instances. The president now waited for the court is active. The government made some of the biggest in that with several former officials. Those matters are before the court. The executive or the president now court can muster the political will to take action, pending actual legal processes that will determine whether somebody is guilty or is innocent. Just the fact that there's been a will continuously for the president to act There are signs of evidences of wrongdoing, a clear indication that the government is committed to the president. The president gave 10 days ultimatum to those who were yet to declare their assets. Such that the action you will see if there are people who on the 10-day period is over. The president and his government to tackle illegal corruption see a great deal of independence.
Following decision by government to work with the majority bloc, several legislative staffers have lauded government for such pronouncement. Minutes after the pronouncement by the Justice Minister, several legislative staffers were seen celebrating, saying such pronouncement by government is in the best interest of all staffers at the capital. The staffers further described the embattled speaker leadership as desperate, which was involved with witch hunting workouts at the legislature.
The government right now, the main as two speaker, Rachel Nameku, as the speaker of the 53, they have removed the corruption file. It's corrupt. Because of me, our 60% have gone away, but we are demanding our 60% from I must start, but this is my ID card. This is my ID card. We are demanding our 60% from the former speaker, 50% plus we for the majority block. Expectation because according to the speaker, Rachel Nameku, he said our vote will be restored. And that's my expectation. Some people they don't know the precedent. When they say precedent, something that happened before. Then why is it we got history? History is something that you will know where you came from and to prepare where you are going. I got in the building since 2006 as a chief of officer. At that time, they used to call chief of officer administrative assistant. When Ellis Tyler issue happened, Ellis Tyler knew that because the majority that had been working with them, they were not again with him, he decided, no, let me resign. But when that thing happened the other day, when our former speaker, our then speaker, were in America, 100% former speaker. You know what I mean? People got the information. He was here when the information started. He knew very well. The man who you and him went in the race, which is Rachel Nameku, you won him with 5 votes. When they gave you the positions, because the law says that when the speaker is elected, you will be the one to allot the position to them.
Legislative staffers on government's decision on embattled speaker Funati Kofa. Oh, well, if you just tune in, it's a reminder you're listening to Kear Newsline, stories making the headlines. The government of Liberia recognizes House majority bloc as legitimate leadership of the House of Representatives. Justice Minister Oswald 12 reveals that the government's decision is backed by recent Supreme Court's ruling. Ministry of Information turns and tax recent statement criticizing government efforts in the fight against corruption as bias. That's Information Minister Jeremy Kear re-emphasizes government's unwavering commitment to fighting corruption. Fresh report from Capitol Hill says the office of the Speaker of the House Majority Bloc set ablaze barely 3 hours after government declared his bloc as legal. And away from Liberia, Zambia's top court has barred former President Edgar Lungu from standing for re-election in 2026. These plus many more still packaged. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we bring you more developments. Many thanks for rejoining. Let's now continue with more developments. Ruling Unity Party is denying any connection to allegations by the embattled Speaker of the House of Representatives that someone has threatened his life. Speaking in an interview with the Voice of America Daybreak, that's VOA Daybreak Africa Tuesday, the national chairperson of the ruling Unity Party, Luther Tappe, says the party is peace-loving institution that believes in coexistence.
It's unfortunate that Honorable Kofa is insinuating that someone from the Unity Party is taking such deadly threat on his life. The Unity Party as a very responsible and peace-loving political institution, would never dive into those kinds of maneuvering. It is something that I can categorically say as the chairman of the party that we are making absolutely no choice in this life. The Unity Party has demonstrated that we want to give everyone the opportunity to participate and build the country. So it's an outright allegation that we would not condone. The Unity Party is the party that never gets involved in which country is political opponent. In fact, the president traveled with Speaker Kupa to Rome to see the Pope. These are all clear indications that the party does not believe in a mantra that one party wins the election, that party alone rules the country. We demonstrated that we want to work across party lines and move the country forward. There were police officers on Capitol Hill on Monday, and now there is this claim that the ruling party or the government is supporting the other side by sending police against Speaker Kofa's supporters. Well, yeah, look, the government role is always to protect life and property. And so whenever there's a plundering or disagreement in every sector of the governing process, it is the responsibility of the executive to ensure that law and order is applied.
He is the national chairperson of the ruling Unity Party, Luto Tapede speaking. The Liberal Council of Churches has called on the majority and the minority blocs of embattled Speaker in the House of Representatives to uphold the recent ruling of the Supreme Court, urging adherence to the principles of justice and the rule of law. LCC Secretary General Reverend Dr. Christopher Toole says the ruling, which quoted Article 33 and 49 of the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia, is in conformity with the law, and as such, honorable men and women should conduct themselves accordingly. Addressing a press conference in Monrovia on Tuesday, Reverend Dr. Toole added that during the reconciliatory dialogue meeting organized by the Council of Churches with the minority and majority blocs at the Providence Baptist Church on Broad Street, separate parties agreed to conform and adhere to the rule of law accountable.
The Liberal Council of Churches is concerned about the recent impasse at the Capitol building where the legislators sit to govern the affairs of our country as a first branch of government. On this day, we are calling on majority bloc and the embattled speaker in the House of Representatives to uphold the recent ruling of the Supreme Court, urging adherence to the principle of justice and the rule of law. The ruling which quotes Article 33 and 49 of the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia, according to the ruling, is in conformity with the law, and as such, honorable men and women should conduct themselves accordingly. In the reconciliatory dialogue meeting organized by the Council of Churches with the Speaker, Honorable J. Kofa, and the majority bloc led by Honorable Samuel Koga at the Providence Baptist Church on Broad Street, the separate parties agreed to conform and adhere to the rule of law and accountability. The Supreme Court, according to legal framework, interprets the Liberia Constitution, and its ruling sets the basis for good governance. The LCC prays that members of the majority bloc and the Speaker will respect the Supreme Court decision and ruling as clear and unequivocal.
The Liberal Council of Churches Secretary General Reverend Dr. Christopher Toole, Liberia's Gender Minister Women Horace Colley, is calling for practical steps aimed at highlighting gender-based violence in the country. Speaking at the One UN Orange Festival, Minister Horace Colley says Liberia needs to transition from the many dialogues and gatherings to take proactive actions to address issues affecting women and girls.
And heartfelt thanks to the United Nations families and all stakeholders for their tireless effort in amplifying the voices of women and girls and for their unwavering commitment to eradicating gender-based violence in Liberia and beyond. This year's theme action, a transformative action to ensure that women and girls can live a life that is more dignified, more prestigious, and more rewarding. Over the last 2 weeks, the issue of gender in the league launched the 16 days of advocacy along with our partners who were very supportive.
Liberia's Gender Minister of Women, Horace Colley, ushering practical steps aimed at highlighting gender-based violence in the country. Sino County Senator Augustine Chiedi has expressed disappointment in decision taken by the leadership of the Liberian Senate to recognize the House majority bloc as legal. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday at his Capitol building office, Senator Cheer termed the decision by the Senate as an embarrassment for the country, noting that it's a disrespect to the rule of law inside the for Liberal. Senator Cheer further claimed that as headers of the Liberian Senate, he thought the leadership would have gone with the decision of mediation and negotiation to resolve the current situation.
Rejection of the decision taken by the Senate. It's a sad day for our country. It's a sad day for the rule of law. The rule of law is seriously under attack in our country. How kind of disappointed today when the Senate reached that decision? And why did the Senate reach that decision? It was our consultation at a meeting. I was called for consultation at a consultative meeting of the Senate. That's where that decision was reached. And how was that decision reached? We were one of the items for the consultative meeting was the classes at the House of Representatives. How do we, as head of the Senate, continue engagement? We too should know what's happening. In the first place, whatever opinion provided by the Minister of Justice is his understanding of the Supreme Court decision. It's not a Supreme Court opinion. I have my own understanding. I'm the legal counsel for that matter, for the Senate. I'm the legal department, but I head the legal committee of the Senate. So you rather get my opinion on that instead of opinion from the Senate. That man advises the executive branch of the government. But in the first place, that's supposed to tackle the Supreme Court opinion to be the opinion. That is understanding. Everybody has this understanding of the opinion. I did not interpretation, which is correct interpretation of the law of the opinion.
The Independent National Commission on Human Rights of Liberia has observed that there has been an increase in the violation of human rights throughout the country. The Commission's chairman, Councillor Dexter Brown, disclosed ritualistic killings, gang rape, and police brutality, as well as disrespect for the rule of law, have been very rampant in all parts in Liberia. Councillor Brown made the disclosure when the Independent National Commission on Human Rights of Liberia released its 2024 Human Rights Report at the program marking the observance of the Human Rights Day in Monrovia.
We noticed that as compared to 2023 and 2024, the human rights record is very deplorable in 2024. Our manager report shows that in 15 counties in Liberia, the human rights situation is very deplorable. This year, more people are killed randomly, disappearances of people, domestic killing, all are in the 15 counties. That is the question and discouraging. Rape is the highest rate in the non-Western part of our country. Imagine people raping 2 years old child.
From the program marking the observance of the Human Rights Day in Monrovia, let's now join Mariama Jalloh to bring us the foreign developments.
Zambia's top court has barred former President Edgar Lungu from standing for re-election in 2026. The Constitutional Court ruled that the 68-year-old politician had already served the maximum two terms allowed by law. Lungu was first elected president in January 2015 to serve the remaining 20 months of his predecessor's term. President Michel Sata had died in office in October 2014. Lungu had argued that should not count as he did not serve a full 5-year term, but the court disagreed, reserving previous ruling that had cleared him to run 3 years ago when he lost the Hakamidi Hichima. Mr. Edgar Lungu has therefore been twice elected and has twice held office. The Constitution makes him ineligible to participate in any future elections as a presidential candidate, the court ruled.
A word from the forward development. That's how we wound down the curtains on Kear Newsline. Before leaving, a recap of our major stories. Government of Liberia recognizes House Majority Bloc as legitimate leadership of the House of Representatives. Justice Minister Oswald Tweld reveals that government's decision is backed by recent Supreme Court's ruling. Ministry of Information turned center's recent statement criticizing government efforts in the fight against corruption as bias. Information Minister Jerry Limek appeared re-emphasizes government's unwavering commitment to fighting corruption. Fresh report from Capitol Hill says the office of the Speaker of the House Majority Bloc sets ablaze barely 3 hours after government declared his bloc as legal. And away from Liberia, Zambia's top court has banned former President Edgar Lungu from standing for re-election 2026. Many thanks to our correspondents, contributors, editors, including reporters, for making today's edition a success. Thanks for your listening during road. Many thanks to our technical team here by George Webb for bringing us on Facebook and YouTube. Many thanks to Aloysius Chill who sat at control and coordinated the sounds. On behalf of the news team at Kear Radio, I am Princess Kamara. I presented. It's good night from the newsroom.